Hello, my name is Mark Long with Carlson Software, and welcome to this video tutorial on using Carlson Hydrology for storm drainage design and calculations. In this tutorial we will go over sewer network settings as well as plan view label settings and how to use these within our design. Starting with the sewer network settings, under Network, Sewer Network Setup, Sewer Network Settings. This dialog box is the interface to assign and set up the working environment for the design and analysis of storm sewers, sanitary sewer, and utility network, and should be done before starting the construction of networks. Looking at the sewer network settings dialog box, we have 6 tabs along the top to review and make the design settings to be used for our project. Starting with the General tab, Network Type indicates if the sewer network carries stormwater runoff flow or storm drainage, or man-made sanitary sewer flow or utilities. If the sanitary/utility network type is specified, controls found in the Drainage tab will be disabled. Here and here. For this one we will select storm drainage. Our active files selects a new or existing file to become the active sewer file and the surface file for ground cover calculations. Network file, surface file. We can select, do new, we'll just call it tutorial, let it overwrite, and then we can also select our surface model that I use to create the roadways in RoadNet. And we'll use merge 10. Merge 10 is a 10 file that I like to use when I take the existing 10 and the finished grade 10 and merge them together. Open. If we checkbox the surface by rim elevations, the ground surface elevation is obtained by interpolating grade from structure rim elevation to rim elevation, and the surface model option is disabled. Go back and select our 10, and now you can see. Linking sewer network to reference surfaces and center lines, here, indicates the method of how the sewer network should react if there are changes to either the specified surface model or any related center lines. If we select off, when the surface model or center line changes, corrective action to the sewer network is not performed. Any corrections to the sewer network will need to be performed manually or through the use of check reference, center lines, and surface commands, which will compare the sewer network with the reference files. If we select prompt, when the surface model or the center line changes, you will be offered a choice for a follow-up action of whether to update the structures or not to update the structures. If we set to auto, when the surface model or center line changes, corrective action is automatically performed on the sewer network, and the elevation updates will be calculated based on the elevation update method. Elevation update method, update depth, hold inverts. When this option is selected, the former invert elevations are retained and a new depth of cover amounts are recalculated. Or if we select update inverts, hold depth, when this option is selected, the former depth of cover amounts are retained and a new invert elevation is calculated. Our inlet library, sewer structure library, pipe size library, pipe mannings in, and plan view label settings can be set to use the current project settings, or the user can specify the library to be used by changing the drop down to specific and set the library or settings to be used. Specific, set, and you can select from your libraries. Switch it back to current. At the bottom, the Save As button saves all the settings to a SNS file, and the Load button loads the settings from previously saved SNS files. So basically what you can do is save the settings for municipalities or cities, towns that you work in, and load them when you need them, when you're working in that jurisdiction again. Under the Design tab, we have our options for direction of our design, downstream to upstream or upstream to downstream. Under the automation, we could have the program automatically auto set all sewer pipe sizes by checking the box, auto set all the invert elevations of the sewer network. By selecting this, the next box will highlight for us to use, where we could add a step up to minimize excavation, with the maximum step up in this case being 2.4 feet, which would kind of minimize our excavation by placing a drop manhole at 2.4 feet if we selected so. Uncheck, uncheck, uncheck. Auto match pipes at junction. Auto set the invert in when change invert out so that the invert out is not higher. Minimize pipe sizes in our design. Automatic watershed analysis. We can also auto connect our structures, and we have three different options. On will automatically connect to the closest structure. Off will not connect, and prompt will prompt the user for the structure he would like to connect to. HGL computation method, we have the Federal Highway, Virginia DOT, and just full flow capacity for Ohio. Friction slope averaging method, we have arithmetic, conveyance, and geometric. If you would like to see the formulas for how these are calculated, you can always select the help button below. We can enter in tailwater elevation at our outfall if we have a tailwater condition. The HGL offset from the rim. This value is used to check the hydraulic grade line result. If some of the hydraulic grade lines are within this value from the rim elevation, alerts are presented to the user to indicate a potential problem. Our minimum time of concentration, we can set that here, and the maximum gutter spread, we can also set that here. We can also select Get Rim Elevation at Inlet Location. The Drainage tab is used to set up the hydrology calculation method and rainfall information for the design of our storm sewer networks. Our hydro methods are either the rational method. As you can see, by having the rational method, the SCS method is disabled here. If we were to select the SCS method, then we could do our moisture condition as well as specify our storm type. We could select our map for our rainfall depth, and our inlet rainfall depth. We could also select our map. I'm going to stick with the rational method. Under the computation methods, we have peak discharge. The rainfall durations are disabled, and the peak flow of each drainage area is calculated by the selected hydro method, and the storm sewer network is designed to pass the peak flow. Or we could use hydrograph. The rainfall durations are enabled, and the runoff hydrograph of each area is generated and routed through the network. We can adjust the rational method runoff coefficients for higher frequency storms. Use different rainfall event for inlet gutter spread and ponding depth calculations, which we will use. We will select our rainfall for the rational method for our design, and I have selected the Wake County rainfall intensity lookup table, and our return period for the HGL we can specify, and I will use 10-year for our pipe sizes. The inlet rainfall, this would be used for our gutter spread calculations, and select from our library again Wake County gutter spread, use that, the 2-year, and also down at the bottom, always capture all inlet flow, bypass disabled. This will be used for this rational method, and that the inlets will collect all the water, but the gutter spread calculations will still take place. Under the pipe tab, you can see that we can set our minimum and maximum cover, our velocities and slopes, our normal slope, the maximum length. We can also set the drop across junction, and we can specify whether or not we want this for all junctions. We can pipe at junction match by invert or crowns. I usually like to leave this at crowns. It helps the HGL. Main design criteria of cover or slope, and to check minimum cover at structures or along pipe. We can also have the checkbox to size pipe at target flow depths, and then we could enter that factor here. Under our error check, if we have other networks that we've created, such as a sanitary sewer network, we could check this box here. We can specify the sewer name and then our conflict tolerance. So if we were to put 2 feet here, if we did not meet this value, we would be notified. We can check the circular manhole sizes as well, enter in our pipe wall thickness, the hole size buffer, and minimum distance holes. Check. And also show pipe crossings down below for that to be checked. Under our display tab, we have the pipe length can be from center to center or the actual pipe length. Pipe slope from center to center or the actual pipe slope. We can display our slope in feet or percent. Our decimals, we can specify how many decibels. Show circles at maximum pipe length while placing structures. If we select this, by going back to our pipe tab, we would have a 400-foot circle to show us the maximum length. And then we have the use default lateral cleanout symbol and the default lateral connection symbol here as well. Plan view label settings. Under network, sewer network setup, plan view label settings. This command sets the drawing format for sewer pipeline and inlet or manhole annotations drawn for the sewer network. These settings are entered in the dialog with tabs for the structure labels, pipe labels, lateral labels, and general settings. Starting with the structure labels, we have available labels on the left, and we can do structure name, rim elevation, depths, and such down the list. By selecting one and selecting add, we can move it to our use label column. Here, if you hit setup, highlight, and setup, you can set the prefix and the suffix, and if you want to label it on a new row or not. Rim elevation, add. We could double click this and also edit it as well, and you can see that our prefix would be rim space equals space. Make sure you put the spaces in if you want them and say OK. We can also select the label format as individual labels. If we select data table, other options become available. Our justification, the label width, and the width value. By selecting attribute blocks, we can also specify block name and hit select to select the block. We can use mtext, check the box, align by a center line, label only direction changes, and label only when structure assigned structure ID. We'll keep ours as individual labels. Let's take a look at our pipe labels. We have the ability to check label pipe length above the pipe, below the pipe. We can set a prefix and a suffix. We can label our pipe length from center to center or the actual pipe length. We can label the size above or below with prefix and suffix. Label pipe material, again, above or below with a suffix or prefix. Label our pipe slope, suffix, prefix, and our pipe slope can be labeled from center to center or the actual pipe slope. The slope format can be percent or feet per foot. Label pipe name, once again, select above or below. If you want a prefix or a suffix, you can enter it there. Draw pipe type, we have several options here. It can be just a 2D polyline, a 3D polyline, a double width, and a dashed width. We can also place a leader for pipe direction. Parallel leader, arrow on pipe, or you could set it to none. We can draw our pipe thickness. We can also hatch it, and the scale we can assign. We can stack labels for short pipes, and our justification can be automatic, center, or left or right. Label deflection angles, deflection label position, perpendicular, horizontal, or parallel. We can also deflection left prefix and right prefix. Under the Lateral tab, we can specify whether or not to draw laterals, to label our laterals, and draw lateral type. We could select 2D, 3D, double width, and dashed width. We also have lateral direction label, whether or not to place it on pipe or a parallel leader, or we could select the option none. Lateral structure label, label lateral structure name. We could enter a prefix or a suffix. Label station from downstream manhole, prefix or suffix. Lateral pipe labels. We can select label lateral length if we like. The position above pipe or below pipe with a prefix and a suffix. Lateral length, we could specify from center to center or our actual pipe length. Label lateral size, position above or below, prefix and suffix. Label lateral slope, again above or below, prefix and suffix. And our lateral slope could be from center to center or the actual pipe slope, and in percent or feet per feet. We can select the label layer, the symbol layer, line layer, and label style, and also the line type by layer. We could also use system name, prefix, suffix, or off for all three. Under the General tab, we can enter in our text size scalar and our symbol scalar, as well as our arrow size scalar. Elevation depth decimals, specify. Slope decimals, station offset decimals, length decimals, and link our label with line work. Once again, I highly recommend prompt, but you can select the others. Also, where the labels and the line work, what layer will they be on? You can assign them here, and you can see that my label layers are StormNet-text. Arrow layer is on StormNet-text. The symbol layer is on pStormNet for proposed, line type layer, dash layer, and our label style and line type. We can also create Esri MSC attributes as well. By using the save and load commands at the bottom, we can load settings that we've already preset by selecting load, locating the files, and you can see I have Carlson Software Sanitary for Design as well as Sanitary Final. The difference being between the two are that the design gives you a lot more information available in your plan view, whereas the final would be what my final submittal would be to the municipality. Same thing for storm, same thing for storm final. Let's see how these work. Let's cancel. Cancel. I'm going to open a new drawing. I want to set a sewer network file to be used. Sewer network setup, set sewer file. We're going to select an existing. We'll select demo 3. And now we have a blank drawing with a sewer network file loaded. By going to network, draw sewer network in the plan view. Zoom, extents. You can see that the drawing has now the selected pipe runs are shown. Now let's say if we wanted to do some plan view label settings during the design portion of our network, sewer network, plan view label settings, select load, go to our standard files, let's say storm design. Now you can see that multiple options have been moved to the use label, and this is how I want my design environment to look. By selecting OK, now you can see that the rims and pipe labels and such are labeled in the drawing for you. Now let's move it back. Plan view label settings. Let's load. Go to our settings file, storm final, and select OK. Update to sewer network, and you can see that it looks totally different, and this is what I would submit to the municipality.